Before we get started, I wanted to share a word of care and concern, as earlier today I learned that part of the Alden Towers apartments in Detroit near Belle Isle caught fire. I know from conversations we have a number of listeners in those buildings. If you don't know, they're from the 1920s. There are nearly 400 apartments over there. News reports say that the alarms weren't working, so that is, in 2 words, not good. Fortunately, the fire damage was contained and there were no fatalities. But I know from personal experience that fires are disruptive and scary and just not a fun thing to go through. So know that I'm thinking of you all today. All right, let's pay a bill and get to the show.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized to you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situation change? Hi, I'm Jerry Mangona, your Edward Jones financial advisor. I live here in Corktown, just a few blocks from the Daily Detroit studios, and when we work together, we'll focus on what's important to you. We'll use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And we'll partner together to help your strategy stay on track. Contact me toll-free today at 866-975-8655. Again, that's 866-975-8655. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit on a beautiful Thursday, May 25th, 2023. Earlier this week, I went to the Automate show at Huntington Center, and let me tell you, it was fascinating. Walking the floor full of all kinds of robots, playing chess, stacking, sorting, building, carrying, I could only think of a fitness center. I have expected one of them in a digital voice to go, "Do you even lift, bro?" The energy was something I had felt before with all of the people. It was like the press and industry days of when the auto show was at its height. The entire world of tech seems to be descended upon Detroit this week from all over the world, and it's clear the investment and money is in automation. It's also clear now to me that there is no question if the robots are coming. My walk around Wednesday, seeing all the different uses, it made it clear they are here. It is now a question of how does Metro Detroit, already some would argue positioned well with the auto industry and automation, take advantage of it. I remember back in 1999 when the business brand for Oakland County was unveiled. It was literally Automation Alley, and it stands to this day. To talk more about everything, Jeff Burnstein. He's the president for the Association for Advancing Automation. I caught up with him over at Huntington Place. It's why our audio sounds a little bit different. What is the heart of all this for the Automate conference?
Well, if you look at what's happening in the world, companies in every industry are automating. Part of it is driven by labor shortages. Another part is driven by the fact that, industries want to be able to be globally competitive. They want to take advantage of the best technologies that are out there. So this show has 750 exhibitors: robotics, machine vision, artificial intelligence, motion control, every industry 4.0 technology you can think of. And it attracts a lot of people. We're going to have over 28,000 registrants. This is the largest robotics and automation show ever held in North America.
Wow. And so why Detroit with this? I mean, some people may not realize that there's just a huge automation industry in Detroit connected to, of course, cars, but so many things.
That's certainly true. In fact, the automotive industry has always been the largest user of robotics, and that is accelerating right now because of the transition to electric vehicles. They need all new tooling for the new manufacturing processes. You're seeing a lot of that on the show floor. The other thing that makes Detroit so great, they have a history of innovation. We're seeing a lot of things in Corktown, where Ford has redone that train station. And nearly all, frankly, of the major robot companies around the world have a North American presence in Detroit.
And I look around that floor and I see so many uses, whether it's like warehousing, moving pallets around, moving large weights, moving small things. So what has been the growth of automation in the last, say, 10 years? Right now, everyone talks about AI. Everyone talks about all those things that have come up, but technologies don't just appear. It takes time for them to kind of mature. And so what is the state of automation in that?
That's a really good point. It takes time to mature. This industry's been around over 6 decades, the robotics industry. But Over time, it's done a whole lot more things. You can use robots in a whole lot of different industries now. They do all kinds of applications, welding, material handling, assembly, inspection, you name it. But they're valuable because they've matured to the point where they're easier to use, there's standard solutions available, they're more affordable. And so companies of every size, small, medium, and large, can take advantage of these technologies in every industry. Now, you look at in Detroit, the restaurant business. On certain nights, restaurants can't be open because of labor shortages. Automation can help with that. Or you look at agriculture. There's not enough people available sometimes to pick the crops, and so automation can help with that. You name the industry. Construction, there's a shortage of construction workers. Long-distance truckers, potentially. There was all this fear about autonomous cars, but actually there's a shortage of truck drivers. So you name the industry, and there's a role to play for robotics and automation.
For sure. When you talked about long-haul truckers, I also think about like buses and other things where there is a fixed route, and that's something that automation is really good at. Whether, self-driving cars and the state of that is kind of up in the air, as we all kind of know with various experiments. But when you have a fixed route, when you have a defined set of parameters with only so many variables, automation can really shine.
That's right. And some companies in the logistics space are actually doing that already. Fixed routes, short hauls. Again, none of this technology is meant to replace people. It's to augment people. That's a case of shortages of drivers. We're seeing that with bus drivers now. And I'm not suggesting that we're ready to have autonomous buses take all the kids to school. But there are shortages and there are opportunities.
For sure. And as far as that shortage thing, is that really what you're seeing drive a lot of this? Because I think there's a fear among a lot of people who are just out there living their lives that these jobs are going to be cannibalized and that there isn't going to be other opportunities available. What would you say to someone who kind of worries about automation?
I'd say that what our experience has been is that robots aren't job killers. In fact, they're creating safer, better, and higher paying jobs. Here's the problem. We lost a lot of manufacturing jobs and in other industries to companies who decided to chase low-cost labor in Asia. Okay? China won a lot of that business. Now, what we're seeing in China is they're going all in on robotics and automation. They have national strategies to automate, to become the leader in not only robot use, which they are now, but in robot production, which they aren't yet. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because they recognize that in order to keep the manufacturing jobs they've won, they need to be best in class. You're competing with companies all over the world. Their labor prices are rising. There'll be somebody else who's got lower labor costs in Malaysia or Thailand or Vietnam. So they recognize that the way to stay competitive is to automate. Now, we're bringing some manufacturing jobs back enabled by automation. The point is, the biggest threat to jobs in America or anywhere else is when companies can't remain competitive. That's when all the jobs are at risk. Automation, for companies that are improving their processes and getting their products to market faster, often allows them to win new business and hire more people. And there's lots of examples of that.
What are some of the ways, and I know that you have more of a larger view than, say, just the metro region, but I will ask a more of a regional or state-specific question. What are the ways that Michigan and Metro Detroit can capitalize on this into the future, and not just for automotive? What are some of the things we could do to be ready for these jobs?
Well, training is the big issue right now. Workforce development is critical. Not just the companies that are making robots and automation. They need people. They need skilled workers. They can hire people at this show who are here in the education pavilion, who are at universities or at technical schools and community colleges and have the skills they need. But we need more of them. There's a shortage of them. So then you think about it from the user perspective. They want to adopt automation in every industry. Do they have enough skilled workers who can help them achieve that? That's a barrier.
Yeah, I've noticed that with some various companies that have come into town, things like that. I think about the abilities that automation can bring to delivery. I think about what it can do, as I mentioned, to warehousing, to so many things where if a robot or an autonomous something is involved in that, it can make it actually possible. Because I think what we're learning with some things like rideshare and stuff is that the costs go up really high. And things like Uber and Lyft were funded by venture capitalists. Once that money ran out, the real prices came up. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, this is interesting of a business.
Interesting. On the logistics side, you think about the explosion of e-commerce, right? And all of us want our packages the next day. Now, it used to be that companies like Amazon and Walmart and Target and others at holiday time would have these big surges of demand. And they would have to hire all these people. And it became, during COVID, impossible to hire enough people because every day was like holiday time. So if it weren't for the automation, the mobile robots that are in those facilities and the other automation, we would never be able to get our packages on time. And this has nothing to do with it being delivered by an autonomous vehicle. This is just to get them out of the warehouse and into our houses.
Yeah. And I think, though, that people sometimes are fascinated by that last mile, right? Because I think some people look at it and go, oh, wouldn't it be neat to have a drone show up on my front yard, right? It's very practical, and it's something that they can touch because they don't, like, not everyone's seen the inside of a warehouse that's automated or things like that. So I think that's why they get excited about is like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting to see a drone come by? Or I watched a video on YouTube, was really interesting. Someone who actually did long distance drone delivery with like a slingshot out in Africa. And they've done like 300 things, but it's all done by automation. It's all programmed by automation, all those things.
Yeah, I mean, more drone delivery, of course, would be interesting, and it's one of those shiny objects to look at. But the real backbone of what's going on in logistics is mobile robots that are navigating through these warehouses autonomously and moving products around so that they can come to us. Now, think about what that means. The workers, where there's a shortage of them, the ones that are there now, maybe don't have to walk 6 miles a day or lift heavy packages. Maybe the automation can do those things, and the people can be supervising. Now, I know in the case of Amazon, prior to recently, they had probably installed 500,000 robots over some period of 5 years or whatever, but they hired over 1 million more people because, the demand has gone so high. I'll give you another example, and it's a company that's in Michigan called Robotire. They're trying to sell 4 robot system to change tires. Now, here's why. Companies like Discount Tire, who's actually, I think, invested in Robotire, have a shortage of like 5,000 technicians to do this. So if you go into a tire store, you might have to wait 3 hours to have your tires changed. This 4-robot system, according to Robotire, can change a car's tires in 20 minutes with all the data. It knows what kind of car is on the lift. It can tighten torque the wheel to whatever the specifications are in the manual because they know what they're looking at. And then they collect the data. So if something did go wrong, they know exactly where and why. So this is exciting stuff for people too, because who wants to lift heavy tires all day? That's why there's a shortage of them, frankly. That's one of those dull, dirty, dangerous jobs that people don't really want to do. So if you've got an automated system that can do that, do it more efficiently, and all I have to do is run that system from my iPhone, then that's a job I'm good with.
Oh, for sure. I think there's a side of the romanticized part of the manufacturing industry. I have a lot of family that worked on the line and worked in those kind of jobs. They are all physically wrecked. Like, it's just the reality. If you spend 20, 30 years on a line, that is going to be painful later on. And I think that's another side of this equation that we don't necessarily talk about as much, because you look at the old pictures and go, oh, look at the people that were coming into the old plant or whatever. But those were physically very demanding jobs.
That is so true. And that's why I talk about safer, better, and higher paying jobs, because those are jobs that today's generations don't want to do. And so what's happening? The baby boomer generation, many of whom were doing jobs like that, are retiring, and there's nobody to backfill them. People don't want to do jobs like that anymore.
Jeff, if people want to know more about your organization, everything that's going on, what can they do?
They can go to automate.org, and there's just an entire wealth of information there that would help anybody learn more about robotics and automation. And if they're interested in trade shows like this one, they can go to automateshow.com.
We are doing our first happy hour of 2023 at Castalia Cocktails on Wednesday, June 21st from 5 to 8 p.m. Both alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks will be available, and it'd be great to see you, share plans for rebuilding the studio and catch up, all those things. Let's go enjoy some beautiful summer Detroit weather. There's an event on our Facebook page. Feel free to RSVP or email me about this or questions about the show, dailydetroit@gmail.com. If you want to help with that rebuild and we're going to make it better than before, buymeacoffee.com/dailydetroit. That's buymeacoffee.com/dailydetroit. Thanks to Cheyenne Oserini for editing this episode. I'm Jer Stays. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit. Talk tomorrow.